Well, the former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley, is now echoing the same sentiments that I've been echoing for months now. That Trinidad and Tobago would become a soft target, a legitimate target, if any war pops off between Venezuela and the United States of America. All of the things you're seeing happening in Trinidad right now, training American soldiers there, they're saying to fight crime, all distractions from what is really taking place in Trinidad and Tobago with the economy in a slump. But don't be distracted. And I think Rowley said it best. It's not a joke. People's lives are at risk of what is happening down there in Trinidad and Tobago, with the US now having their full leeway to do whatever they want on a sovereign nation soil. But who gave them that authority? And so he clarified the SOFA agreement. He clarified it because people wanted to say that what he did was giving the Americans full backing to do whatever they needed in Trinidad. Apparently not so. But we listened to Rowley because he has warned that Trinidad and Tobago basically has become a soft target in the event of any U.S. military action against Venezuela. And he's arguing that the country's offshore gas platforms could be among the first casualties. And his remarks came as he defended the status of the Forces of Agreement, which was renewed in Washington in 2024, insisting it contains no provision for regime change, military intervention, or the establishment of a foreign base. Do you understand what I'm saying? In Trinidad. But let's take a listen to Dr. Keith Rowley. I think he did a very good job in explaining this to us.
As U.S. Marines conduct military exchanges with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is moving to clarify what he calls misinformation surrounding the status of Forces Agreement he renewed last year.
There's absolutely nothing in the Status of Forces Agreement to permit any commitment from Trinidad and Tobago to breach the UN Charter to intervene military in any of our neighbors or anywhere in the world. Absolutely not so at all. Anybody from the government saying that, it is a lie.
He argued that if Trinidad and Tobago is now seen as aligned to the United States in any future confrontation with Venezuela, that perception is the result of decisions made by the current government, not his administration.
There's nothing in any document that I'm aware of which prevents the sovereign government of Trinidad and Tobago from saying yes or no to any request coming from any country if we believe that it jeopardizes our sovereignty or puts our vulnerability to the test.
He also delivered a blistering criticism of the Prime Minister's handling of the issue.
We have a Bajan Prime Minister who doesn't go to work, doesn't talk to the media, don't care who she fire, don't care who gets a job, but she bad. This is not carnival. This is not a joke. It's all well and good for the Prime Minister to stay home and hide and talk stupidness through buffoons. But our life is involved here now.
Dr. Rowley warned that Trinidad and Tobago's critical energy infrastructure, much of it just 60 miles offshore, would be highly exposed if the region becomes militarized.
If a threat like that comes to us, a credible threat, that those platforms are in fact legitimate targets, those international companies will do one thing. They will remove their staff from the platform. Once they come off the platform, it shuts down the gas supply to Trinidad and Tobago. And that shuts down Point Lisas. It shuts down the Atlantic LNG plant. And it shuts down every factory in Trinidad and Tobago, because it would have shut down TNTEC.
He also said contemporary conflict no longer begins with troops, but with drones, missiles, and cyber attacks, tools that could cripple the country long before any physical confrontation.
They have sacrificed our neutrality in matters of this nature, and they put us in a very, very vulnerable position. So vulnerable that if it comes to a shooting war off our coast, we are defenseless, and our economy is defenseless. Do we, as a government, as a people, genuinely believe that those platforms out there, that the Americans will remain there with their submarine and their aircraft carrier and their planes and their helicopters to protect us from Venezuela for the next month, the next year, because these things have a way of going on for years.
Remember to like, share, and
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kodash. Double honor unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000 men. You know, the name of this episode is TNT is in for hell soon. TNT, Trinidad and Tobago, is in for hell soon. Alright, you know, and this is a video from Ernesto B. Cook. Alright, name of the video is Rowley says Kamala has made TNT a target back in all time. But it's true, you know, she did exactly that. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Kamala, she's most likely a heathen, right, an Elamite. Alright, and she's following after Trump. She's taking care of her people. You know, because since she's coming and she's basically, you know, she's going against you Jakes, you so-called Negroes. Alright? And you Latinos. She wants to send you home. Right? A lot of Venezuelans who came to Trinidad. So, hey, at the end of the day, we see what it is. You know? Everything that Trump is doing, basically, she wanted to put in place in Trinidad and Tobago. And, you know, Trinidad and Tobago has backed the U.S. 100% under her administration. Which, basically lends further credence to saying that, you know, TNT is a mini Babylon. America, Babylon the Great. Alright? TNT is a mini Babylon. Right now, they have US, you know, Navy ships, whatnot, Ospreys, etc. flying over the country. Military helicopters. Okay? Doing drills with our local regiment. Because we don't have an army, we just have a little regiments. Right? Population of Trinidad and Tobago is actually about 1.44 million, right? 144. Alright, currently. Alright, which is spiritual. Alright, because, you know, this place is due for great judgment. It's due for great judgment. You know, and you had the former Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, basically saying, no, he's a Oreo anyway. He's a sellout Negro anyway, but at the end of the day, he spoke the truth, you know. He said, you know, these things have a way it go on for a while, you know. And, you know, that is according to the Lord's word, prophecy, right? Because when you go to, let's get this. When you go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24. And verse 4, it says, And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, Mashiach, and shall deceive many. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. So we're going to have a lot of these wars and rumors of wars like what we see now. Alright? See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Alright? So the Lord said this would happen, you know, and what he's saying is matching with the word, you know. These things take time and build up, you know. But eventually, you know, when it does pop off, things going to get really bad. You know, Trinidad and Tobago's economy is solely, mainly dependent on oil and gas. Alright, gas. The platforms he spoke about that, you know, 60 miles offshore in the Atlantic Ocean. Alright, you know, these things could be shut down. You know, when war happens, they're going to, guess what? The global companies, which are mainly British and American, they're going to pack up the staff and move out. So the Trinidad and Tobago economy is going to shut down. No industries, you know, because all industries, you know, use natural gas for the most part. So they're going to have no industries. All the Pointless industrial estate going to shut down. The liquefied natural gas plant going to shut down, which is one of our main sources of revenue. You know, we sell to the states, etc. You know, that's going to shut down. So it's not going to have any income, you know. On top of that, you know, it's not going to have any electricity either, because the TNTech, which is the local electricity company, they use the liquefied natural gas as well. You know, no factory is going to be working because they need that gas. So things ain't looking good on the outcome. This place, is going to go down really, really quick and really, really hard, when that time comes. Right? So best understand the time that we in. This is not no joke. All right? This ain't no joke. This is Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease. Why? Because there are few not going to have work, not going to have any money. Right? And those that look out of the windows, be darkened. And the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, right? And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And there are many daughters of music in Trinidad. They love to party, as they say in Trinidad, lime, fet, you name it. All that is going to be brought low. Drink, they're not going to have no money. Tax is going to go way up. Okay? The economy is going to crash. Because it's a debt-based economy. Right? It's going to crash. So you understand what's really going on here? They don't understand. It says, also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, right? And fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, going back into the truth. And the grasshopper shall be a burden, the locust, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Right? So it's going to be hard. This thing is going to be hard. It's going to hit hard. Understand the time that we keep on stressing these things over and over and over again. All right? For those of you hearing this word, and who the Lord open their eyes, repent. Because this ain't going to be nice. This ain't going to be nice. All right? This is Isaiah 24 and verse 7. It says, the new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of the tabret cease, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Right? The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in, right? Because people are going to be raiding one another's home. Going back into, I believe it's 2 Ezra 6. All right? Friends going to fight like enemies. All right? Verse 11 says, there shall be a crying for wine in the streets. They're going to want to know, get this truth. Right? All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. So this is what's going to happen. Thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree, and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. Right? It's gonna be a mess. Right? It's gonna be a mess. You're gonna have famine. All right? Shortage of food. All right? Shortage of water. Okay? Things ain't gonna be nice out here. A lot of the women, they're gonna suffer. According to Isaiah 32 and 9. The vintage will fail. The garden not gonna come. Okay? So it's important to understand that the time there, this is no joke. Let's get one more. I'm just going to get one more. 2 Ezra chapter 15. Let's go here. 2 Ezra 15 verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right? Because, when they have war, which happened before during World War II, where the German U-boats were shooting down the merchant vessels in the Caribbean, that they using merchant vessels, which usually bring in food, etc., and utilities, to sustain life on the islands from the States, etc. And they were bringing military equipment using those boats, and the Germans realized that and decided to shoot down the boats. And the country suffered. There were shortages of food. Things were really, really tight. And it's going to happen again. Nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. But this time it's going to be way worse. Way, way, way worse. Alright. 2 Ezra 15 And verse 15, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in the hand, gun. Man, their sword is a gun. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Right? They're going to do what they want to do. Right? A lot of people are going to be invaded. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride, which pride is the beginning of sin. What? The city shall be troubled, and Trinidad and Tobago has a lot of pride. The so-called Trinidadians, they have a lot of pride. Right? So because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, right? Because we have no defenses here. When Venezuela started to launch some missiles in this tail, you know, which they're getting a lot of missiles from Russia, we're going to have no defense for that. Right? Okay? Because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, right? The gun, and spoil their goods, right? All their goods, including your wife and your daughters, right? Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And this is what's coming to this place. All right? This is what's coming to this place. You better repent. You know, the time is close and the destruction draweth nigh. You know, TNT's in for a hell soon. Pray this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Shalom, Wa, Harag, Babal.